Joe Biden asked the Supreme Court to revive student debt relief for everybody as they start sending out letters assuring people that no matter what it is the courts say, they will get the relief. So we'll be talking about that, what that means, and where we go from there. Actually check something here because I want to make sure that I'm actually on right now. Okay, good. There I am. In other news, another rail union has come out and denied the government's request for new concessions in order to avoid a strike. So the contract has been denied, and we could be seeing a major supply chain issue coming up in the very near future. So we'll be talking about that, what that means, and where we go. The person who stopped the gay bar shooting in Colorado speaks out and says, "I'm not a hero, I'm just a guy who was able to act." So we'll go over that and talk about that and what's happening there. And Justice Alito is back in the crosshairs here about leaking a potential Supreme Court decision, this time one from 2014. It is going to be all this and more. Well, I hope you're strapped in for the economy. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. You know, I've never played this Undertale game that everybody talks about here. That I might actually have to put that onto my list of video games that I'm going to play on stream. But, you know, the move comes first. That's got to be the big thing coming up here. But, you know, I'm already looking to the future. I want to play more video games. I want to do more, get more community going that way, get more non-political stuff going here. Maybe even do some music. I have been trying to reteach myself how to play guitar over the last little while, and you know, one of the things that I noticed when I sat down and I played Fallout 3, Fallout 4, well, not Fallout 4 because I didn't actually finish, but when I sat down and we did Mass Effect or a number of other things, is I'm more accountable when I've got an audience. I go through and I finish things. I have a save file in Final Fantasy X from 18 years ago when that game came out. No, it wasn't that, or no, it was longer than that. 20 years ago when that game came out. Because I've never finished that game. But it's the same thing. Like, if I'm accountable, if I have an audience, we can sit down, we can, you know, play the guitar together. Watch me relearn, even though I'm going to suck for a little while. You can watch me play video games and stuff like that. And yes, I actually will go out and play new stuff. Not just the old same comfortable games that I've been playing. That's been one thing too with having a game night, is I'm more curious now into playing new games than just going back. Because what have I told you? I started playing Fallout New Vegas when Ice and Fire, my friend, told me that I should try that out in 2018 is when I tried that out. And I've been playing Fallout pretty much non-stop since then. And, you know, just broadening out some horizons now and starting to look into other stuff. Having the new rig helps a little bit. But yeah, I want to go play Final Fantasy, do some music, stuff like that. So that'll be something coming up in the near future. I'll add Undertale to my list of stuff to do. But anyway, good morning. Hi, my name is Jay Edgar. This is Contemporary. We've got a bunch of stuff to go over here today. A lot of economic news coming out here between the student loan stuff and the rail line strike that's coming up here again. I do hope that you guys are ready for what's to come, and I try to warn you. Plus, I got a weird tweet that I found right before we went live of a sitting congressman actually threatening a private citizen. You know, that thing that gets people banned from Twitter. But I doubt that anything's going to happen to Adam Kinzinger, but we'll talk about that. We'll go over some of that over here on Contemporary. Before we get started, make sure you guys go check out great programming such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Breckenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, The Porch Boys, Tweets by Brit, Overruled with KTZed, Mr. Behavior, PJ Patriot, and the No Gimmicks podcast. Go check out all that great programming as we start to build a coalition of people who would like to bring you news and culture from the common man for the common man. That's right. You should be getting your news from people who have had to make some of the same decisions that you do, not people who wear suits that cost more than your house. Don't get me wrong, I would like to wear a suit that costs more than your house. I just don't think that's a reality as a citizen journalist. But, you guys could spread the word, tell a few more people, get the word out there, and possibly one day I could wear, even if it's just a rental for one night, a suit that costs more than your house. I don't think I will ever own it, but, But thanks anyway. Go check out all that great programming, and let's get down into the finance here, which is going to dominate about the first half of the show. So let's see what we've got here. Starting with the Dow. The Dow closed down yesterday to 33,700.28. That stayed steady throughout the day for the most part, only dropping. It was right at the previous close. Right before the markets closed out, and then it just sank down to the bottom 45 points to close down. But it had been low as, what was the low point here? 33,568.35, so not a huge dip. And really no ability to go back and rise again. I know that they're trying to get themselves up to the 34,000 mark here before the new inauguration day, but I just don't see it happening. I see a lot of steadiness, so we're not watching and waiting for everybody's 401k to dump back out, but still, something to watch for. It's something to prepare for. If you have an option other than the Dow, this is not official financial advice, but I would ask somebody who can give official financial advice what they think about moving into something like a CD or something like that, but that's what we see coming for that. Looking at your Bitcoin, which had just very recently this morning a very significant spike in the price of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is now up to 16,029.70. That is up $269 and 60 US cents on the day, or 1.71%. Bringing this back out onto the 5-day and seeing that we had a fairly significant drop. So at this point, it's just making up lost ground as we go. So that's what we see coming for that. We will see if it rises, gets back up to the 17,000 mark, or if it stays down below the 16.5. It's something to watch, something to see where we're going, and something to notate where the most immediacy is in the market. So we'll see what's happening with that. Looking at your gas prices, actually, I'm coming to you with some good news. On the Isthmus, on Madison, 326 going into the Isthmus is at 340 still, but as we look around in here, we've got a 320. That's right, the Quick Trip over on the far west side is actually flirting with dipping below the $3 mark. It's not there yet, and we don't know if it's going to get there, but it's flirting with it right now. So I've got a feeling, and I know where this one is actually. I actually have been to this Quick Trip numerous times before I stopped spending money in Madison. I've got a feeling that this is a very, very busy Quick Trip right now because this is the low price leader in the city of Madison proper. But that's what we see coming for that. Other places around there, the BP is at 330. The Quick Trip going into the Isthmus, as mentioned, was at 340. The BP leaving town is at 340 as well. The Exxon leaving town the other way is at 330. So, fairly non-significant day as far as everything goes, but we'll continue to watch and see what happens with that. Let's see what IBD has to say for the morning. Dow futures rise as Best Buy surges on advertising dollars that come in and interrupt your reading. Dow futures rise as Best Buy surges on earnings. Zoom dives on weak guidance from Scott Latonin. The Dow futures rose Tuesday morning as investors digested a number of earnings reports, including results from retailer Best Buy. The short holiday week receives a strong dose of economic data during Wednesday's session, including minutes from the Federal Reserve's latest policy meeting. Consumer sentiment, durable goods orders, first-time jobless claims, purchasing managers' index readings, and new home sales are all due out in the morning. Fed minutes are due out at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. The stock market will be closed Thursday for the Thanksgiving holiday, followed by a shortened trading session on Friday. Dell, Urban Outfitters, Zoom Video reported late on Monday, while Baidu, Best Buy, Dick's Sporting Goods, and Dollar Tree delivered earnings Tuesday morning. Is Dick's Sporting Goods even still relevant? I know that a lot of people stopped shopping there when they decided to come out and say, we're not gonna sell any firearms at all anymore because they're evil and they're dangerous. Not that I think that firearms were a major part of their repertoire. I think that was just an afterthought for most people that were going into there. But again, it's like me with Walmart. I never bought ammunition at Walmart. Never once. I have various better places that I can go out and get ammunition. But when it comes to Walmart, when they got up on the soapbox and said, we can't sell 5.56 ammo anymore because it's used in assault rifles. Don't you know? Assault rifles, they're so dangerous, and 5.56 is assault rifle ammo, and automatic, and school shooting, and everything else that they tried to pull with this. I just looked up and said, I have no reason to spend money at Walmart anymore. And I haven't stepped foot in a Dick's Sporting Goods since they did their little dumb speech either. The only reason I can justify, and this is kind of a tangent here, I don't go to places where they explicitly wear their politics out on their sleeves in either direction. Now, with Hobby Lobby and Chick-fil-A, I can justify that because they didn't come out and say that. Somebody actually had to go digging for theirs, so I can justify those two. But just legitimately, when places come out and say, we are full-on political, I try to stay away from them in either direction. I really do. That's why I don't buy Jeremy's razors either, by the way, because they're political in the other direction. And plus, that's a Shapiro thing as well, but that's what we have for that. Dell moved down 1.6 in early morning trade, while Urban shares rallied 2.6%. Zoom Video dove 8.5% in pre-market trade on weak guidance. Baidu climbed nearly 2% in morning trade, while Best Buy surged more than 8% on better than expected results. DKS declined 1.6%, and Dollar Tree shares tumbled 3.1%. Additional earnings reports this week include Autodesk, Deere, HP, and Nordstrom. On the market today, Tesla traded up 1% Tuesday. Dow tech leaders Apple and Microsoft moved modestly higher ahead of today's stock market open. IBD leaderboard stock Arista Networks, Global Foundries, KLA, Shoals Technologies, as well as Dow Jones named Caterpillar are among the top stocks to buy and watch. Arista is an IBD leaderboard stock and was a recent IBD stock of the day. Global Foundries was featured in last week's Stocks Nearby Zone column. Shoals was Thursday's IBD 50 stocks to watch pick. On the futures, ahead of Tuesday's opening bell, Dow futures rose 0.4% versus fair value, while the S&P moved up 0.45%. The tech-heavy NASDAQ traded up 0.35% in morning action. Among ETFs, the NASDAQ 100 tracker Invesco QQQ Trust rose 0.1% early Tuesday, and the SPDR S&P 500 ETF gained 0.25%. The 10-year yield ticked lower to 3.8 Tuesday morning. Meanwhile, U.S. oil prices rebounded modestly, looking to snap a 4-day losing streak that saw West Texas Intermediate futures fall to their lowest level since early January. WTI futures traded above $81 a barrel Tuesday morning. So, with that little last piece of information here, it does not look like, even though the Quick Trip is flirting with dropping below the $3 mark, it's probably not going to get there because the oil prices looks like they are going to go back up, at least temporarily. So that's what we see for that. I want to go one more step into finance here before we get into the main news of the day, which, we'll be going right back to finance after we cover another celebrity passing away. And this fun little jab from Adam Kinzinger that I found right before we got started here. But I wanted to talk about Carvana because I know a lot of people, quite a few more than you would expect given the fact that I've been around automotives for my entire life, who have been using this as a service to go back and get their cars by, I think it's all used cars. I would never go to something like that. I can't buy something that I haven't test driven. But it seems like they've had a rise and a fall. And I think that it could be predicted. So this is from The Street. Collapse of Carvana, the Amazon of used cars, continues. From Luke Olinga. The sky is not clearing up for Carvana. On the contrary, big clouds continue to gather over the company, which was one of the big winners of the pinkpox pandemic with a massive growth. Since announcing its quarterly results on November 3rd, Carvana shares have lost 44% of their value and are currently trading at 8.06 versus 14.35 on that day. This translates to a decline in market capitalization of approximately $1.1 billion in 2 weeks. Carvana currently has a market value of $1.43 billion. The company, founded in 2012 and based in Arizona, took advantage of favorable conditions to market its new way of buying a car. The group's car vending machines stuck well with the pandemic, a period during which consumers wanted to avoid contact as much as possible to limit their exposure to the virus. The federal government had also flooded consumers with money via stimulus programs. Interest rates were at almost zero, which meant that financing the purchase of a vehicle cost practically nothing. Added to this, the supply chains of car manufacturers were disrupted, which made the production of new vehicles difficult. Faced with these challenges, consumers turned to the secondhand market as the waiting times for new vehicles were long. Used car prices jumped, therefore making it a good deal for Carvana. Excuse me. Basically, all the winds were blowing in the right direction for the company. But coming out of the pandemic, Carvana's fortune seemed to have turned completely. The used car market remains hot, but all other factors have reversed. There is no more stimulus money. The central bank is aggressively raising interest rates, and inflation is at its highest in 40 years. The economy is also close to a recession more than ever, and the waves of job cuts follow one another. Used car prices remain high, but financing the transaction has become very expensive for consumers. Supply chains have improved significantly, facilitating the production of new vehicles. This was felt in the last quarterly results from Carvana. In the third quarter, Carvana's revenue fell from 2.7% year-on-year to $3.4 billion, while net loss jumped $283 million from just $32 million in the third quarter of 2021, the company said in a letter to shareholders. Used car sales in the U.S. fell almost 13% year-on-year in the third quarter of 2022. If you're looking at newer used cars, models in the 1 to 3 year old range, you may find that prices are still relatively close to what they sold for new. Consumer Reports said if you have to borrow money to buy the car, it may be better to find a new car that can qualify you for a lower interest rate, to say nothing of the benefit of a fresh factory warranty. Many manufacturers subsidize financing and may offer interest rates that are much lower than normal for qualified buyers. All this complicates the affairs of Carvana, which had to go into $3.3 billion of debt to finance the acquisition of auctioneer Odessa's physical auction business this year. So, I want to talk about this now that the street has laid out what happened with Carvana. Now, Carvana is at a big disadvantage, openly, versus the traditional dealership market. For what it was a good thing. It was a good idea. But it was a gimmick. And it always had been a gimmick. I know that a lot of people come back out and say, I don't want to go into the dealership because there's a pressure aspect to me going into the dealership, especially millennials who, for whatever reason, have forgotten the ability to negotiate above and beyond their Gen X and baby boomer counterparts. And unfortunately, Gen Z is looking to be into that same market. But again, I do want to take some time and note where the difference is here and why this is getting slapped. Number one, as they mentioned, the interest rate and the prices. I've seen used cars that go for more than their new counterparts, which blows my mind. The street said that it was pretty much the same, but no, there are rare occasions where it's more. just because they need to get something back out of these vehicles that they paid dearly for to try to get inventory back in their system when the new car crunch was going on. And they did pay dearly for these vehicles. And a lot of them are going to sit and either just sit there or go to auction. But, I mean, when you're at these prices that are even up to the same, why not go and get the new car? You get a better interest rate, you get the warranty, and if you're paying that much money, why not? But one of the big notes that goes with this, especially when you go to the dealer, because it's typically got a manufacturer attached to it, even if you're getting the used car there. You go down to the Ford dealer, the Chevy dealer, the Mitsubishi dealer. They've got other services that can hold them up. Repair, new vehicle obviously, parts, marketing, fleet, etc. Carvana has none of that. Pretty much all they do is they're the car vending machine. They pick up the car, which they don't actually pick it up with a claw, but they actually do drive it down the ramp outside of what they have going on there. But the thought is that they pick it up with a claw, they come out and they deliver it and drop it in front of your house. Anything else that they have is an expense. On top of the fact that, yes, there's really no power to buy a used car right now. I remember when my credit was really, really bad and I had gone to try to buy a truck. And the dealer, it was a Ford dealer at the time, actually tried to get me to go buy a Focus instead. Brand new Focus. I'd actually test driven a used truck. I think at the time it was, and I'm suddenly really glad that I didn't buy it, I think it was a 2009 F-150 with a 5.4, which is the 3-valve 5.4 with a cam phaser problem. Hence why I'm glad I didn't buy that truck. But instead he's like, no, well, why don't you buy this temporary vehicle right now? Buy this Focus brand new. You can get this better interest rate because even with a bad credit, they can finance you better on a used or a brand new vehicle because it retains its value for longer. But the money's it's not there. So I don't know what the future is for Carvana. I really don't. Like they said, it's a novel idea, but I think its time came and went. Alright, let's talk about the main news of the day now that I've gone on my rant about that. And then we will be back into finance in just a moment. So we've got another one here. This one I'm not familiar with, but Nikki Acox of Supernatural has died at 47 from Marianne Garvey. I am tangentially familiar with Supernatural. I think I've seen like 1 or 2 episodes because I was curious about it, but it's just not something that I ever stuck with. I knew enough about Supernatural to know that Sam Dean in the Netflix series Daybreak was a reference to Supernatural, and that's about it. Nikki Acox, who played Meg Masters on the CW series Supernatural, died last week, her family announced. She was 47. Acox's sister-in-law, Susan Rabe Siklowski, revealed the news on Facebook on November 17th. My beautiful, smart, fierce, incredibly talented, and loving sister-in-law, Nikki Acox Rabe, passed away yesterday with my brother Matt Rabe by her side, she wrote. Nikki and Matt had a wonderful life together in California. Can you actually have a wonderful life in California? She was definitely a fighter, and everyone who knew her loved her. Supernatural show creator Eric Kripke took to Twitter to write, "Gutted to hear about the great Nikki Acox. Our first Meg Masters passed away. Too young, she was a delight and delivered lines like honey and venom. I marvel at how she made the simple word like lackluster legendary." Cause of death was not disclosed, and I'm going to say that this may not be the thing that we can't mention on YouTube because it does reveal here that she did have leukemia, which is probably what took her at that point. But And that's kind of what I wanted to point out with this. Number one, an F in the chat for anybody who enjoyed Supernatural. But on the other side of this, like we saw with the Green Ranger yesterday when we read about that passing away. When we read about that devastating death of somebody who was 49 years old, and they went out of their way not to tell you what the cause of death was, which they went somewhat out of the way not to tell you what cause of death was here, but also pointed out the fact that there was leukemia involved. So, for those of you who are fans of Supernatural, and I unfortunately am not, I might pick it up at this point, just because, again, I'm tangentially curious. I don't know where I would find it, because I don't have any network television, but I don't know where I would find it, what I would do, but, you know, it'd be something that possibly would interest me. But if you enjoyed the show, then, well, pay your respects to Miss Acox. And I wanted to touch on this because before we, when we move on here, before I move into the tweet, so I don't want you to see the meme before I get to it, I want to point out, there was the First Amendment. It was something that was put in place because people were being prosecuted and persecuted by the Crown for speaking out against the Crown. You can still get that in England today. That's part of the reason our Constitution is set up the way that it is. You can still be put in jail for criticizing King Charles. You can also be put in jail for throwing an egg at him. That was a story that I had on the stack last week that we never got to because there was so much else going on with the midterms and everything else. But openly, on the other end of it, as a government official coming back out and threatening a citizen for criticizing you in meme format is above and beyond the pale. And I know that Adam Kinzinger is on his way out at this point. And he has no F's left to give. He has 0 F's left to give. He doesn't care anymore. But that doesn't change the fact that a sitting U.S. congressman threatened a private citizen like this. I have had my disagreements with Cat Turd, by the way. I am blocked by Cat Turd because I didn't bend the knee for the Marjorie Taylor Greene. I still think she's a plant, and I expressed that to him, and he tried to pull down a tweet raid on me and then blocked me as people were actually starting to question his decision to bring the tweet raid down on me. So I've had my differences with Cat Turd, but regardless, Cat Turd tweets out, "It's dumb that I'm laughing way too hard at this." Quote tweeting Mr. Francis with the crying and peeing himself Ukrainian guy. But when we roll up here, we see that Adam Kinzinger, hashtag fella, and this is the official Adam Kinzinger too, literal evil. "If I met you in person, it would not end well for you, sicko. Trolls who have never done a thing in their life pretend to be patriots and laugh at real warriors." I want to remind you, this is how government officials all see you. This is not unique to Adam Kinzinger. If you go back and talk to them in the bars, this is how they're going to come back and be talking about you. Not if you talk to them, but if you see them in the bar somewhere or anything, this is how they are going to see you. Adam Kinzinger is just saying the quiet part out loud right now because he can, essentially. Because he's sitting in that situation where he can't fall any further. He lost his district, and now he can come back and tell his constituents what he actually thinks about them. This is a bad person. But to come out as a government official, as a sitting government official, and threaten a private citizen with Capitol security backing you, with your private security backing you, this is just wrong. But what I will say, Lauren Shen, you're publicly threatening a cult called Cat Turd for thinking that a meme is funny. Reevaluate your life choices. Or, my personal favorite, the Right to Bear Memes, who corrected the image to put Adam Kinzinger's face into the meme. I want to juxtapose this for just a moment here, because we come back here to the Donald Trump Twitter feed, by which he still has not tweeted anything. And I find that funny. He has still not tweeted anything back out. But I juxtapose this against where people were saying that he was using the platform to incite the riot, to go after the government, to try to have his own vice president killed. And yet I scroll through this and I see nothing. Adam Kinzinger can outright call and say, "I will beat you down if I ever see you in person." And when you compare that to, "I'm asking everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful, no violence. Remember, we are the party of law and order. Respect the law and our great men and women in blue. Thank you." Just the juxtaposition of these two against each other. It's ridiculous, and it's a double standard. And I hope to see something done about it. And if you guys want to, if you're on Twitter, I do recommend that you go find this link on Adam Kinzinger's Twitter page and report it. Because there's no reason for a sitting congressman. Now, as a private citizen, I don't really care what he does. I'd still criticize it for him threatening a person whose name is Cat Turd. But as a private citizen, it's not that big of a deal. But as a sitting congressman, to suppress the freedom of speech like that, no. That's beyond the pale. All right, let's go talk back to finance. Democrats renew push for cryptocurrency regulations, target company that serves as both exchange and bank. Oh, really? Now they want to go for more crypto regulations? And there was the conversation about that happening when the FTX thing blew up. Asking the question of whether or not that dude was a plant to try to get them into the position where they could go regulate the rest of crypto. And I try not to be conspiratorial on the show, but I could see a situation where that's actually the case. This is from Ben Zieslaw. Democrat lawmakers on Monday called upon regulators to examine bank holding company SoFi, which owns a subsidiary cryptocurrency exchange. Skepticism of the financial services company occurs after crypto platform FTX filed for bankruptcy following users' discovery that trading firm Alameda Research borrowed millions in deposits to make investments, causing a liquidity crisis. Former FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried controlled both companies and allowed ex-girlfriend Carolyn Ellison to lead the latter. Sherrod Brown, Jack Reed of Rhode Island, Chris Van Hollen of Maryland, and Tina Smith of Minnesota, all of whom sit on the Senate Banking Committee and all of whom have that funny letter D after their names, requested that the SoFi CEO Anthony Noto provide information regarding compliance with banking law and determinations on appropriate levels of exposure to digital assets. Over the past year, several meltdowns in the crypto market have wiped out trillions in value, including another huge crash last week, the lawmakers said in a letter to Noto. We are concerned that SoFi's continued non-bank digital asset trading activities pose risks to consumers and safety and soundness, risks to your institution. The Federal Reserve granted SoFi permission to operate as a national bank at the beginning of this year, noting the company's cryptocurrency unit must be divested or brought into compliance within 2 years of the approval. We are concerned that SoFi's continued impermissible digital asset activities demonstrate a failure to take seriously its regulatory commitments or adhere to its obligations, the lawmakers said. Bankman-Fried, whose considerable fortune disappeared overnight as the company filed for bankruptcy, is reportedly seeking $8 billion from investors to cover withdrawal requests made by customers. Yeah. If you're trying to get your money out of FTX right now, you're not seeing that money. FTX CEO John Ray III, an attorney overseeing the company's bankruptcy proceedings, who formerly represented plaintiffs harmed by the collapse of Enron, remarked in a court filing last week that he had never seen such a complete failure of corporate controls and such a complete absence of trustworthy financial information. So, what we're seeing out of this and the TLDR really does seem to be, now that we've seen another crash with FTX, hey, now let's go get the government involved in this. And I want to talk just a bit about that for a moment. Did we do rules of acquisition yesterday? I don't even remember anymore. Regardless, looking in at this, we see a situation where now we've got an excuse. A person who's donated billions of dollars to Democrats, who's well known by them, who parties with them, has now done something that has put our government in position where, okay, we've got to come back out and regulate even more aspects of your everyday life. Which that in and of itself I can't stand. The government has really no business regulating any portions of anybody's life. Full stop. But as we go with this, as we see, now they're coming back. And I do wish the government would get their hands out of most everything. I gave my seal of approval to the idea of the Federal Reserve giving somebody permission to be a national bank. Why do you need the government's position? If you've got money that you can lend out and make some interest back off of, be a bank. And if you've got the infrastructure that you can keep some other people's money in there and then go back and lend it back out so that you can get interest generated to give back to the people that are in your bank. Why do you need the government's permission for that? And then further, you shouldn't need the government's permission to lose everything in a crap coin. Know the risks, understand the risks. And this is not official financial advice, but also remember, the greater the risk, the greater the reward. But, I mean, who could have seen this coming? From Politico. Biden will ask the Supreme Court to revive student debt relief plan. From Michael Stratford. The Biden admin will ask the Supreme Court to revive its student debt relief program as it fights to reverse lower court rulings that have upended its plans to forgive up to $20,000 in debt for tens of millions of Americans. The Justice Department said in a court filing on Thursday that it planned to ask the Supreme Court to reverse an injunction issued earlier this week by the 8th Circuit that prohibits the admin from carrying out student debt relief. Separately, the Justice Department is asking the 5th Circuit to put on hold a decision by a district court judge in Texas to strike down the debt relief program as illegal. The DOJ asked for a ruling from that appeals court by December 1st to allow the government to seek relief from the Supreme Court if needed. The various emergency requests by the Biden admin tee up what could be the most consequential Supreme Court showdown yet over President Biden's debt relief policy in the coming weeks. Justice Amy Coney Barrett has twice rejected preliminary requests in other lawsuits to block Biden's debt relief program, but neither case had addressed the legal merits of the program. The lawsuit now is heading to the Supreme Court was brought by 6 Republican state officials who are trying to stop Biden's debt relief program, which they have slammed as unfair and unconstitutional. The ruling earlier this week by the 8th Circuit found that at least one of the states, Missouri, had standing to bring the case. The 3-judge panel unanimously voted to pause Biden's debt relief program while the lawsuit plays out. The other lawsuit in the 5th Circuit, filed by Jobs Creator Network Foundation, a conservative group on behalf of 2 student loan borrowers who were fully or partially excluded from the debt relief plan, the Biden admin is asking the appeals court to put on hold a lower court ruling by District Judge Mark Pittman, a Trump appointee, who declared the program unconstitutional. As it fights in the court, the White House is weighing a decision about whether to postpone restarting monthly payments. Yeah, those are not coming back right now. And interest for most federal student loans in January is planned. Bet me. Bet me. Bet me that gets pushed back again. The can gets kicked down the road again. I've never played Final Fantasy VII, but that's on my list. Maybe I'll actually, since graphics cards have gone down so far, maybe I'll get a new graphics card and then actually be able to play the remastered version. Student debt activists, civil rights groups, and labor leaders have urged the Biden admin to make clear that it won't move to restart payments while the debt relief program remains in limbo. The NAACP, which has worked closely with the White House on debt relief, fully supports extending the repayment pause until borrowers obtain the relief they deserve and have been promised. Wisdom Cole, the group's youth and college director, said in a statement on Wednesday. Admin officials are arguing in court they need to cancel student debt for tens of millions of borrowers to prevent huge surge in delinquencies and defaults when monthly payments resume. Yeah, we've got the best economy in the world right now, and a better economy than ever in U.S. history, and, you know, as soon as we put all these debts on, pull them off pause, then, oh, well, we'll have the worst economy, and we'll be lower than a third world country again. You know, that kind of tells me that this best economy that you're telling us that we have is kind of a sham. Let's see. In spite of this all being in limbo, one day after asking the Supreme Court to save its student loan forgiveness plan, the Biden admin started notifying applicants that they've been approved. However, you know, approved for nothing, it looks like. From Isabella Zavaris and Ayelet Sheffy. One day after asking the Supreme Court to save its student loan forgiveness plan, the Biden admin has started notifying some applicants that they've been approved. On Saturday, the DOE began sending emails to borrowers alerting them of their debt relief approval and also providing details about lawsuits that are delaying implementation of the program. In an email reviewed by Insider, Education Secretary Miguel Cardona wrote, "We reviewed your application and determined you're eligible for loan relief under the plan. We have sent this approval on to your loan servicer. You do not need to take any further action." Cardona added the admin believes the lawsuits are meritless and that the Department of Justice has made an appeal on the behalf of borrowers. Your application is complete and approved, and we will discharge your approved debt if and when we prevail in court, Cardona wrote. And this is strategic. This is playing politics. I'm going to, by the way, change something out over here because apparently we're having the live chat problem again. So let's put the live chat up on the screen. So, and as I was saying before I noticed that people were not seeing everybody's live chat here, as I was saying with this, it's strategic. Read the rhetoric. This email provides you with an update on the one-time student debt loan relief plan that President Biden and I announced on August 24th. We reviewed your application and determined you're eligible for loan relief under the plan. We have sent this approval on to your loan servicer. You do not need to take any further action. Unfortunately, a number of lawsuits have been filed challenging the program, which have blocked the ability to discharge your debt at present. We believe strongly the lawsuits are meritless, and the Department of Justice has appealed on our behalf. Your application is complete and approved, and we will discharge your approved debt if and when we prevail in court. Literally, they have changed their message into, those evil Republicans are trying to stop you from getting debt relief. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Those absolute evil Republicans, don't you know? It has nothing to do with us, and we're the honorable, wonderful people. It's those evil Republicans. The Biden-Harris admin is committed to helping borrowers as they recover from the pandemic. Education is the great equalizer. No. There's a mostly steel and composite piece of equipment in about a 95-degree angle sitting over there on the bookshelf. That's the great equalizer. And we will never stop fighting for you. So, yeah, they're still going down that road. Let's talk about the supply chain. From CNN, America faces a possible rail strike in 2 weeks after the largest union rejects labor deal. From Chris Isidore and Vanessa Yurkovich. America faces a growing risk of a crippling national freight rail strike in 2 weeks. The rank-and-file members of the nation's largest rail union, which represents the industry's conductors, rejected a tentative labor deal with freight railroads. What are we up to now? 4 that have rejected this? The union announced on Monday. The nation's second-largest rail union, which represents engineers, ratified its own contract, but the failure of the conductors to ratify their deal is another setback to efforts to avoid a strike. With these votes, all 12 rail unions have now completed their ratification process, with members of 8 of the unions voting in favor of deals and 4 voting against it. The 4 that have voted no will remain on the job until at least early next month, while negotiators are held to try to avoid a strike that would cause widespread disruptions in the nation's still struggling supply chain and overall economy. Oh, see, now we're back to a struggling economy. See, when the Biden admin needs to come back out and try to win the midterm, we have the best economy in history. It's never been this good. If even one of the dozen railroad unions were to go on strike, the other 11 would honor the picket lines, shutting down the railroads. Well, get your popcorn now, because you're going to need it, and it's going to be hard to come by. If a strike goes on for an extended period, it could cause shortages and higher prices for goods, including fuel and food. If the 4 unions that rejected the deals are unable to reach new deals before strike deadlines, Congress could order the rail workers to remain on the job or return to work, which that is the funniest part of this entire thing. And if McCarthy is smart, he will not do that. I am telling you right now, if McCarthy has any sort of political tact whatsoever, he will not order them to go back to work or stay on the job. The 2 unions that released voting results Monday are the Transportation Division of the Sheet and Metal Air Rail Transportation Union, or SMART-TD, which represents 28,000 conductors, and the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen, which represents about 24,000 engineers. The engineers and conductors make up the 2-person train crews. Both unions reached tentative deals in September in a marathon 20-hour negotiating session just hours before their earlier strike deadlines. And just in time to keep a strike from happening right before the midterms. Honk honk. President Biden called those deals a win for tens of thousands of rail workers and for their dignity and the dignity of their work. He had directly intervened in the final round of talks, which had to be entertaining. Hey, come on, man! Just don't you just want to go to work, man? The dignity of your work, and just sign the contract, man. Come on. But his praise of the deals wasn't enough to win approval from rank-and-file members of the conductors union. The deals nearly got all the support they needed to be ratified by both unions. One was ratified by the engineers with a 53.5% voting yes, and the other was in a very slim defeat by the conductors with either a small majority or near majority voting for ratification. So, that'll make things interesting. The Associated Press reporting the obvious. Consumers could pay the price if railroads and unions can agree. From Joshua Funk. Consumers could see higher gas prices and shortages of some of their favorite groceries during the winter holiday season if railroads and all of their unions can agree on new contracts by an early December deadline that had already been pushed back. The likelihood of a strike that could paralyze the nation's rail traffic grew on Monday when the largest of the 12 rail unions, which represents mostly conductors, rejected management's latest offering that included 24% raises and $5,000 in bonuses. With 4 of the 12 unions that represent half of the 115,000 rail workers holding out for a better deal, it might fall to Congress to impose one to protect the U.S. economy. The Retail Industry Leaders Association said a rail strike would cause enormous disruption. Although retail stores are well stocked for the crucial holiday shopping season, it's not clear what a strike would mean for packages because FedEx and UPS, which both rely on rail to some degree, haven't commented in detail. Fortunately, this year's holiday gifts have already landed on store shelves, but an interruption to rail transport does pose a significant challenge to getting items like perishable food products and e-commerce shipments delivered on time. And it will undoubtedly add to the inflationary pressures already hitting the U.S. economy, said Jess Dankert, with a group that represents more than 200 major retailers. Even getting close to the deadline could cause problems because railroads will freeze shipments of dangerous chemicals and perishable goods ahead of time. And commuters could be stranded if there's a strike because so many passenger railroads operate on tracks owned by the freight railroads. You guys got any popcorn? Because this is your government at work. Now, on a deferment, you do accumulate interest if it's on your volition, but if the government puts the deferment on it, they stop the interest. So what the government has done has stopped the interest. But yeah, if you defer, then yes, you're still accumulating interest. All right, going into talking about Colorado Springs again. Excuse me. I have to kill this guy before he kills us, Army vet says combat mode kicked in during nightclub shooting. From Virginia Kruta. U.S. Army veteran Richard Fierro told reporters that combat mode kicked in when a gunman opened fire Saturday at Club Q in Colorado Springs while he was there with his wife and daughter to celebrate a friend's birthday. Yeah, that's where I'd want to bring my kid. And didn't this happen like right before midnight too? According to a report from the New York Times, a former newspaper, Fierro and his friends, along with everyone else in the club, ran for cover and dropped to the ground immediately when the shooting started. But as the reality of the situation dawned on Fierro, he sprang into action. I don't know exactly what I did, I just went into combat mode. I just know that I had to kill this guy before he kills us, Fierro explained, saying that he waited until the shooter turned towards the patio before he charged the man. He reportedly used the straps of the shooter's body armor to get a grip on him and pull him to the ground. Once he had the shooter down, Fierro said that he was able to relieve him of his pistol, hitting him with it and asking other patrons to assist in detaining until law enforcement arrived. Hold on, wait a second. I was assured that this happened with an AR-15. Why is this gentleman talking about a pistol? Atrevida beer company, which Fierro owns with Jess Fierro, posted an account of the evening as well. I have struggled with how to address these horrific scenes, a series of events that have occurred. My family, friends, and I decided to have a fun night out. We went to Club Q, Colorado Springs to celebrate another dear friend's birthday. Unfortunately, we were all there when the shooter entered. It was absolute havoc. I was terrified. Cassie broke her knee as she was running for cover. Our best friends were both shot multiple times. I bruised the right side of my body, and Rich injured both his, and it continues, but I'm not going to click it back open because it's Facebook, and then you'll see my real name. It was absolute havoc. It was terrifying, Jess posted. Everyone is recovering, thankfully. No one should ever have to witness bloodshed like this, she added, noting that her family was now grieving the loss of her daughter's high school sweetheart. I'm so confused right now. And I've got a feeling that probably so is the high school sweetheart. With an incredible, heavy, and broken heart, we lost Raymond, who had been part of our lives since our daughter was in high school. Raymond was Cassie's boyfriend. We're going to miss him and his bright smile so much, she concluded. We're going through a lot of emotions as a family and as a brewery. The loss of lives and the injured are in our hearts. We are devastated and torn. We love our LGBTQIRAMIGIXTBYAMPYRLTO, sometimes Y, community, and stand with them. This cowardly and despicable act of hate has no room in our lives or business. F hate. It has left us and our community scarred but not broken. Much love to everybody. So, and no, this was not a good guy with a gun. This was a guy who just happened to be in the right place in the right time and knew what to do with somebody who had body armor, who probably had no business having a firearm or body armor. But once again, this does tend to go against the narrative here, because this does not appear to have been an AR rifle. Let's grab one from Politico. Gay club shooting suspect evaded Colorado's red flag gun law. I'm shocked. From the Associated Press. A year and a half before he was arrested in the Colorado Springs gay nightclub shooting that left 5 people dead, Anderson Lee Aldrich allegedly threatened his mother with a homemade bomb, forcing neighbors into the surrounding homes to evacuate, while the bomb squad and crisis negotiators talked him into surrendering. Yet despite the scare, there's no record prosecutors ever moved forward with felony kidnapping and menacing charges against Aldrich. Oh really? You don't say. So, this gentleman was known to law enforcement for committing felonies and yet was still able to go out and buy an armament. And from the sounds of it, a pistol, a handgun. Yet despite that scare, there's no record. Let's see, we got that one. Or that police or relatives tried to trigger Colorado's red flag law that would have allowed authorities to seize the weapons and ammo the man's mother says that he had with him. Gun control advocates say Aldrich's June 2021 threat is an example of a red flag law ignored, with potentially deadly consequences. While it's not clear the law could have prevented Saturday night's attack, such gun seizures can be in effect for as little as 14 days and be extended by a judge in 6-month increments. They say that it could have at least slowed Aldrich and raised his profile with law enforcement. And that's the big problem. That's the big problem that I have with this. See, you want to put these laws into place, these red flag laws, so that if, I guess I don't really have a liberal niece because that's not going to happen in the family with my families with my nieces and nephews. I'm trying to think of a for instance here. But most of my family is actually pretty based. But say that there wasn't, like say that I had an older sister that had a blue-haired daughter who decided that because I sit here and have that flag behind me, and that I sit here and talk about not relying on the government for everything, and people who want to have government can keep it over there, that kind of stuff. And she doesn't like that because she needs to have the government involved in every part of her life. You want to have these laws in place that she can go back and make the call and have me red flagged, where they can take my armaments, all of my armaments, without question, for up to 14 days, and then put me through a lengthy court battle to go back and get them back. You want to have these laws in place for that. And yet, in places that you have these laws, they mysteriously are not getting enforced. In a situation that you actually should have enforced them in. I mean, this goes beyond red flag laws. Bomb threat with a deadly weapon and kidnapping, those are two things that under the National Institute of Criminal Background Check system should have disqualified this guy from owning a weapon to begin with. You see why I have some questions with something like this? Gay bar shooting suspect faces murder and hate crime charges. From Thomas P. Burt, Jesse Bedane, and Brittany Peterson. The man suspected of opening fire at a gay nightclub in Colorado Springs was being held on murder and hate crime charges Monday while hundreds of people gathered to honor the 5 people killed and 17 wounded in the attack on a venue that for decades was a sanctuary for local LGBTQIRAMIGITBX+sign-minus-sign RM701A2R sometimes Y community. Anderson Lee Aldrich, 22, faces 5 murder charges and 5 charges of committing a bias-motivated crime causing bodily injury on Saturday night's attack at Club Q, online court records show. So, did they find a motive? Is that why they can do a hate crime on this? Fierro, authorities say the attack was halted by 2 club patrons, including Richard Fierro, who told reporters Monday that he took a handgun from Aldrich, hit him with it, and pinned him down with help from another person. Nothing about a rifle. So is there actually a motive here? The charges against Aldrich are preliminary, and prosecutors had not filed formal charges in court yet. The hate crime charges would require proving that the gunman was motivated by bias, such as against the victim's actual perceived sexual orientation or gender identity. Local and federal authorities during a Monday news briefing declined to answer questions about why hate crime charges are being considered. Because it was a gay club, that's why. That's the exact reason why. There is no other reason that they are bringing this up other than to come back out and say, hey, evil white man, long gun, hate crime. There's no proof that there was a hate crime motivation. From the sounds of it, this guy was just a nut job and should be locked in the asylum. But it does almost seem like they wanted this to happen. Because it seems, once again, like every obstacle was taken out of the way in order for this guy to be able to get his hands on armaments that he shouldn't have never had. Who else is going to get the blame for this? Who else? Nancy Pelosi. Democrats blame MAGA Republicans and anti-LGBTQIRIMIGXTBY7 number IZLIMATMR sometimes Y bills for mass shooting at LGBTQIRA, we're not going to do that again, club. From Chris Enlow. House Speaker Pelosi drew a clear connection between MAGA and the mass attack on the LGBTQIRIMIGXTBYAMIZM7RIA, sometimes Y, nightclub in Colorado Springs. In one statement, on Sunday, Pelosi condemned the despicable attack at Club Q, which she noted fell on the eve of Transgender Day of Remembrance. The attack on Club Q, which fell on the eve of Transgender Day of Remembrance, is despicable, further shattering the sense of safety of LGBTQ IRMAGIXTBIMZ 7 plus sign minus sign sometimes Y Americans across the country, she said. Then in a second statement commemorating the Transgender Day of Remembrance, Pelosi took a direct shot at MAGA Republicans, blaming them for the violence like the attack on Club Q. That fight remains more urgent than ever, as right-wing extremists target transgender Americans' most fundamental rights and freedoms, Pelosi said. Whether spouting dangerous rhetoric from cable news desks or openly bullying school children from the halls of power, MAGA Republicans are cruelly undermining the safety and well-being of our transgender community. Other Democrat lawmakers, organizations, and media outlets allege that people who disagree with the LGBTQIRA-MIGIXTBY7ZRIAMPOLMIA plus sign, sometimes Y, are essentially responsible for the heinous attack. Denver Democrats said in a statement, "There's a clear link between these kinds of attacks and the extremist blatantly false and hateful rhetoric against the community. We've seen an onslaught of anti-LGBTQ bills, nearly 300 this year, which are rooted in archaic and ugly ideologies that only seek to sow more division and traumatize a group of people who simply want the same rights as everybody else." The Honorable and Venerable Alexandria Ocasio-Chavez said, "Okay, Papi, after Trump elevated anti-immigrant and anti-Latino rhetoric, we had the deadliest anti-Latino shooting in modern history, okay, Papi? And after anti-Asian hate with COVID, Atlanta Tree of Life, Emmanuel, AME, Buffalo. And now after anti-LGBT plus campaign, Colorado Springs, connected dots, okay, Papi?" Meanwhile, news outlets like the Washington Post and the LA Times also tried to connect Republicans to the Club Q attack. Okay, before we get down into this, I'm going to need to see some motives. But they don't need to see motives. They just see people that they don't like. And they want to try to pin everything, all the world's ills to them. And again, I remind you that, the next step after that, after you've identified a particular group of people in the country and blamed all your problems on those people, the next step is to hand them a yellow star and make them wear it out in public. But I also wanted to take a moment and point out the fact that and we saw this with the Darrell Brooks case, they say that banning guns will save all the lives in the world and nobody will ever die again if we ban all the guns. And yet, if they don't have the guns, they'll go find a car. They'll go get a knife. They'll find a type of poison. The desire is not to go out and shoot. The desire is to kill. And they will find a way to kill. No matter what, they have to go back and do it. One dead, at least 16 hurt after SUV crashes into Massachusetts Apple Store. From Alicia Fieldstead and Myrna Al-Sharif. One man was killed and at least 16 were injured Monday after an SUV drove into a Mass Apple store, officials said. Police received calls for a car that crashed into a storefront windows at the Derby Street shops in Hingham, about 16 miles southeast of downtown Boston, 10:45 a.m. on Monday. Where's Hingham? I think I've been there before. That's about the neighborhood that I lived in. Okay, yeah. I don't know that I ever got that far to the east. But yeah, that's right about in line on where I lived. So I probably knew some people that were there. I don't think I ever got past Braintree when I went out there. Let's see. Responding officers found multiple people with injuries in and around the Apple Store at the outdoor mall. Plymouth County District Attorney Timothy Cruz said during a news conference on the incident. A dark-colored 2019 Toyota 4Runner smashed through the quintessential large glass windows at the Apple Store at a speed that is unknown at this time, striking multiple people, according to Cruz. The vehicle went straight through to the back of the store, which means that he was probably going at least 30 when he hit. Pinning some shoppers and employees against the wall, authorities didn't comment on how crowded the store was at the time of the incident, but Cruz mentions, obviously the Apple Store is a very busy place. This morning was unthinkable, and people are trying to get through it and process what happened, Cruz said. Bystanders rendered first aid to some of those injured, said Hingham Fire Department Chief Steve Murphy, who also spoke at the news conference. And again, if they want to deal the damage, they're going to find a way to deal the damage. Let me see if the Blaze has anything up on this, but we are up on the clock, so we're going to have to start winding it down. One dead, several victims mangled after man drove SUV into Boston area Apple Store, pinning bodies against inside wall. From Joseph McKinnon. I just want to see if they have anything on motive or whether or not this was even intentional or an accident. A statement issued by Apple suggested the deceased may have been a professional who was on site supporting recent construction at the store. South Shore Health is presently treating 17 victims for various injuries, including head trauma and mangled limbs. The hospital's chief of trauma, Dr. Christopher Burns, indicated that multiple patients have life-threatening injuries, meaning death count may soon rise. No audio. Okay, that's all the aftermath. And there it is. Cruz said the driver is being interviewed by police and that a criminal investigation is underway, suggestive that this may have been an intentional attack. One witness claimed that while the driver had appeared to have been injured in the crash, the man had nevertheless been alert. Hingham police say they need to break the plate glass window in order to remove the SUV inside the Apple Store because it's too dangerous. So, and again, I remind you that the evil is there. If they can't find a gun, they'll find a car. Can't find a car, they'll find a knife. Remember that old Garth Brooks song? Mama's in the graveyard, Papa's in the pen? How did the father in that song kill the mother's lover when he came back off the road? You know how it happened. That old diesel engine made an eerie sound as Papa fired it up and headed into town. Yeah, he drove his rig into the hotel. From Just the News. New Trump special prosecutor overturned by Supreme Court tied to IRS scandal. Just the News. Coming out and reporting that this guy is maybe not the nonpartisan guy that they tried to tell him that he is. President Biden pardons the national Thanksgiving turkey. It's got to be a white turkey, too.
In all seriousness,
kind of want to see this. I'm not going to lie. I want to see how bad he botches this. Is that wrong of me? Can we track back?
God love you. Now this is chocolate, right? Chocolate, you are pardoned. You are pardoned. He said, you had to tell me that? Yeah, you are. Yeah, I'm serious. He said, I don't know, man. You didn't have to pardon me. I knew I was pardoned. At any rate, thank you both.
I don't know,
very
man.
much. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. How many turkeys you got down there? You raised?
It's hard to hear. It's really quiet.
God love you. 9.5 million turkeys. I tell you what, that's like some of the countries I've been to. Anyway, you want to talk? Here. Look, folks, in all seriousness, let me close with this. We can't forget the reason for Thanksgiving in the first place. The Pilgrims thought it was...
I don't understand the turkey pardon either, by the way. All right, let's talk about the special counsel. The special counsel named by the Biden admin to investigate Trump oversaw Justice Department unit rebuked by the Supreme Court for its prosecution of a prominent Republican and was linked to by Congress to the IRS scandal that targeted conservative groups. Jack Smith, a war crimes prosecutor at The Hague and former chief of the DOJ Public Integrity Section, was named Friday by AG Merrick Garland to take over 2 investigations of Trump related to January 6th and classified documents found at Mar-a-Lago. In 2014, the House Oversight Committee concluded that during Smith's earlier stint at the DOJ, he set up a critical meeting between his department and the IRS official Lois Lerner that set in motion the targeting of a conservative nonprofit that became one of the signature scandals of the Obama admin. The Oversight Committee obtained testimony from a DOJ official named Richard Pilger in 2014 that showed Smith set up a meeting with Lerner to discuss more aggressive enforcement of regulations prohibiting tax-exempt groups from engaging in politics in the aftermath of the landmark Citizens United free speech Supreme Court case. According to Mr. Pilger, the Justice Department convened a meeting with former IRS official Lois Lerner in October of 2010 to discuss how the IRS could assist in the criminal enforcement of campaign finance laws against the politically active nonprofits. The committee wrote in a 2014 letter to DOJ, this meeting was arranged at the direction of Public Integrity Section Chief Jack Smith. The letter concluded, it is apparent that the department's leadership, including Public Integrity Section Chief Jack Smith, was closely involved in engaging with the IRS in the wake of Citizens United and political pressure from prominent Democrats to address perceived problems with the decision. So, that's interesting. They spent because we talked a lot about it yesterday, about this particular gentleman. And all the news outlets saying how nonpartisan he is, how open he is, how much of a objective prosecutor he is. And it turns out that no, he is just as partisan as Merrick Garland himself. From Insider, Elon Musk says the issue of child sexual exploitation content on Twitter is priority number 1. From Sada by Mia. Elon Musk said that the problem of child sexual exploitation content on Twitter being easily available is top concern. Twitter user AvaFoxU, followed by Musk, tweeted, Elon Musk has begun addressing the issue of posting child sexual exploitation content on Twitter after years of the platform's inactivity on the subject under past management, with a link to an article by Tasmanian interviewing Elizabeth Blue, a survivor of human trafficking and an advocate for victims. Musk responded to the tweet by saying the issue is priority number 1. Blue told Tasmanian that the new management of the company takes the CSE problem seriously, emphasizing that the 3 main hashtags used to sell child sexual abuse content on Twitter have been cleared since Musk's takeover. I guess I'm a lot more innocent than I thought that I was, because I didn't know that was a thing until yesterday. Insider found that Twitter had removed most of the content using these hashtags, but there were still some tweets requesting CSE content. Blue also said that Twitter had added a direct reporting option for child sexual exploitation on tweets with images or videos. Insider was able to verify this and found that when reporting a tweet, users can now select the option of child sexual exploitation as the reason for the report. Twitter, Tasmanian, and Eliza Blue did not immediately respond to a request for comment. French President Emmanuel Macron on November 10th asked Musk on Twitter, "Will the bird protect our children?" Musk responded in French saying, "Absolument," which translates to absolutely. And I know that they've had problems with this for a while. With, under the old management, there had been a particular instance where somebody had reported his own pictures for being up there for child prawn, and Twitter basically did nothing about it, and yet those pictures are still being circulated to this day. So, it's interesting, and I'm glad that they're going down this avenue. From The Blaze, Justice Alito is accused of leaking landmark case ruling, but news outlets' admissions cast serious doubt. Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito is denying allegations that he leaked the ruling of a landmark case in 2014. Dude, that was 8 years ago. In addition, denials from key players in the story and a lack of direct evidence corroborating the allegations cast serious, significant doubt on the allegations. On Saturday, the New York Times, a former newspaper, published a letter written to Chief Justice John Roberts in July, in which Reverend Rob Schenck claims he knew the outcome of Burwell versus Hobby Lobby before the court announced its ruling in the 2014 case. The case is significant because it held that religious organizations can deny coverage for some contraceptives in violation of Obamacare. Schenck, whom Politico described as once an evangelical minister and prominent anti-abortion activist who has since become disillusioned with the religious right, claimed that in his letter that a donor to his organization, Gail Wright, told him that having dinner with the Alitos that the Supreme Court would rule in favor of Hobby Lobby. Okay, but you're gonna need evidence. Did you record the conversation? Because this sounds like a lot of he said, she said. Several weeks later, the court ruled in Hobby Lobby's favor, and Alito wrote the majority opinion. The allegations are explosive, but the New York Times uncovered no evidence directly proving Schenck's claims. Mr. Schenck was not present at the meal, and there's no written record of his conversation with Mrs. Wright, the Times reported. But it kind of sounds like there's a lot of things going on here. What about the evidence? There's, however, circumstantial evidence, such as vague emails and secondhand conversations, that would suggest Schenck had insider information, but none of it proves that Alito leaked the ruling of the case. Why is this important? It was Alito's decision for Dobbs that got leaked. Not only that, but yes, there is the attempt now to force all the conservatives, especially all the Trump picks, but if they can get Alito, Roberts, and Clarence Thomas off of there too, they will, to try to get all the conservatives off the court so they can go pave the way, because now they don't have the ability to go back and expand it. So this is going to come. I'm going to gloss over this one for right now because I don't completely understand what's going on with this. But there's some problems with Balenciaga. Balenciaga sparks outrage over disturbing campaign of kids holding bondage-themed teddy bear handbags. Outrage ensued online over an advertising campaign from the global fashion trend Balenciaga, which features young children with teddy bear handbags wearing bondage outfits, the New York Post reported. As of Monday, the Blaze was able to confirm that the controversial photographs were still on the company's website. The campaign shared on social media showed two young girls holding stuffed animals dressed in bondage-themed outfits. One photo shows a young girl standing on a bed while holding a strap connected to a white teddy bear purse. The stuffed animal is wearing a padlocked collar, spiked bracelets, and a mesh top. Another photo features a girl holding a purple teddy bear wearing a similar bondage attire. In the picture's background is another blue bondage-themed stuffed animal resting on the end table. Although the bear handbags are not yet for sale, the photographs were part of the campaign advertising the Balenciaga gift shop. Parents were furious about the disturbing imagery from the fashion house. Online critics called the ad disturbing, creepy, and wrong. So, and we can look at the pictures here from Shoe on Head. Guys, should I ask Shoe out? Should I go do that? What do you think? J. Edgar and Shoe forever, together forever? Readers added context they thought people want to know. Although Shoe often makes comments to cause amusement or laughter, this is an authentic Balenciaga marketing photograph. And it contains an excerpt from the U.S. Supreme Court opinion in U.S. v. Williams, which upheld part of a federal child porn law. So there is the teddy bear, and the girl looks absolutely terrified. And another one. Oh, and there's the opinion. Well, that changes the way that I looked at this. Now, honestly, I would have still said it would have been weird if it had just been these two pictures. And I would have said, okay, well, they're doing goth-themed teddy bears. Because that would have been the first thing that I would have thought would have been goth. Not bondage. But, you know, when you add in the U.S. v. Williams under this, yeah, that makes this a little bit different. Wood chipper? Anybody? And again, I remind you that if they hadn't gone with that clip from the Supreme Court decision, I wouldn't have thought any less, and I wouldn't have had a second thought of this. They're trying to bring goth back. Next problem. But yeah, that changes everything. The post shared on Twitter also alleged that one of the photographs includes a very purposely poorly hidden court document about virtual child porn. Twitter added a community disclaimer to the post saying this is an authentic Valencia marketing photograph, referring to the picture featuring the court document. So, that's interesting. Here's one that popped up last week, but I didn't have a chance to, and then we're going to have to go do Twitter trending and head out of here for the day. But San Francisco has launched a new guaranteed income program for the transgender community. From Tim Johns. By the way, there are tweets out there showing the different identities that you can use to sign up for this thing, and some of them I can't say on YouTube or Twitch. San Francisco Mayor London Breed announced the launch of a new guaranteed income program for the city's transgender community on Wednesday. The Guaranteed Income for Trans People program, or GIFT program, will provide low-income transgender residents with $1,200 each month up to 18 months to help address financial insecurity within the community. In a statement, the city of San Francisco said GIFT is one of several programs the city is developing, implementing, and evaluating to identify how to best support San Francisco residents and promote economic stability and recovery. The city also said the new pilot program is the first guaranteed income initiative to focus solely on transgender people and will provide 55 eligible participants with temporary income. Additionally, the city said that it will provide the same individuals with wraparound direct services such as gender-affirming medical and mental health care, case management, specialty care services, and financial coaching. We know that our trans communities experience much higher rates of poverty and discrimination, so this program will target support to lift individuals in this community up. We will keep building on programs like this to provide those in the greatest need with the financial resources and services to help them thrive, said Mayor London Breed in a statement. It's not universal basic income then. And I guarantee you, by the way, that this gets struck down by the court as unconstitutional, violating equal protection, number one. And then, number two, this is going to just be abused. Because what are they going to do? Like, you know, just like everything else that we see with transgenderism. Oh, yeah, I just became out as transgender today. Give me my money. It is ma'am now. It is ma'am. I can't see any way that this goes wrong. And the last one, we'll save the last three here for tomorrow, because I think, or maybe Thursday, because I think that some of these are going to fall into thing that I like and thing that I hate. So the last one we'll do here today comes from Insider. Kim Jong-un just revealed his daughter to the world in a photo of North Korea's latest launch of a massive missile. I mean, I'm not surprised that he's got a kid. He's basically deified by his people, so. Do I have an author? Yeah. John Haltiwanger. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un unveiled his daughter to the world in new images released on Friday that showed him strolling around with a young girl as the rogue state tested the massive Hwasong-17 intercontinental ballistic missile. North Korean state media outlet KCNA said that Kim was at the launch with his beloved daughter and wife. As North Korea expert Ankit Panda noted on Twitter, We've never seen his daughter in public until now. Kim, who is thought to have 3 children, is famously secretive when it comes to his family. Former NBA player Dennis Rodman, who cultivated a relationship with the North Korean dictator, revealed in 2013 that Kim had a daughter named Kim Ju-wei. She is believed to be somewhere around 10 years old. It is unclear if Kim Ju-wei is the girl in the new photos from Thursday's missile launch. If that's the daughter, then I'm actually going to come out and say that it's probably older than 10. Maybe 14, 15, something like that. The new images showed Kim walking with the young girl near the large ICBM, at times holding her hand. Kim's wife, Ri Sol-ju, could also be seen in the photos. Well, I don't know. Friday's missile launch marked the second time this month that North Korea has launched an ICBM, a long-range weapon capable of delivering a warhead to targets beyond the country's immediate region, and came on the heels of a series of weapons testing by North Korea. The repeated launches have caused alarm in Japan, South Korea, and the US. North Korea is repeating provocations with unprecedented frequency, and this is absolutely unacceptable. Japanese PM Fumio Kishida told reporters on Friday after North Korea launched the missile, per the New York Times. Kamala Harris of the U.S. also condemned the launch and called for Pyongyang to stop further unlawful destabilizing acts. So, Kim Jong-un's got a kid. I guess I'm not really that surprised. I'd be more concerned about the gigantic missile off of there than talking about this dude's kids. Unless she's making bad business deals in other countries and giving her father 10%. What a world leader's kid does just really isn't that much of my concern. But I also think it would be stupid to think that he doesn't have kids. I'm more surprised that he's married instead of having some sort of harem. Maybe he's got like 10 dozen kids out there somewhere. Alright, and with that, the last thing that we do is Twitter trending. Go and see what is trending. Throw some retweets out where they need to be. We'll see what Twitter thinks that we need to be talking about today, rather than what we actually talked about. And this is, by the way, we go straight up for the trending page, not the For You page. So this is not necessarily what is trending specifically for me. Argentina is trending, along with Tunisia. Both of them appear to have something to do with the World Cup. Saudi Arabia could have ended Argentina's 36-game unbeaten streak in the first game of the World Cup. Or they have ended, yes. Diego Maradona looking down at his Argentina team. Oof. Argentina lose their World Cup opener to Saudi Arabia. And then we've got Coach Herve Reynard, who won the 2012 Africa Cup of Nations with Zambia, won the 2015 Africa Cup of Nations with the Ivory Coast, leads Saudi Arabia to surprise victory over Argentina in the 2022 World Cup. It's time to familiarize yourself with the tactical genius that is Coach Herve Reynard. Argentina did Spider-Man dirty. Nice. So Argentina is out. I know absolutely nothing about the World Cup, so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. For Tunisia, the sixth game of the 2022 World Cup finishes Denmark 0-0 Tunisia. There was only one goalless draw in the whole time of the 2018 tournament. For the first time in history, all African countries qualified for the World Cup will be led by coaches from their country. Robert Song of Cameroon, Aliou Cissé of Senegal, Walid Regragui of Morocco, Ado of Ghana, and Jalal Qadri of Tunisia. Big deal. And people gathered around the cell phone in Tunisia, glued to the World Cup. A Tunisian football fan wears a Palestinian flag during today's Denmark versus Tunisia match in Qatar. Well, I guess we'll see who wins the World Cup. I have no idea because, again, I'm not really that into soccer. Vamos Mexico! I think this is more World Cup news. Abuelita needs to bless Mexico once again. Yes, this is more World Cup news. Let's go Mexico! Only during the World Cup am I Sports Mexico versus Poland. Vamos Mexico! Si se puede! Yes, we can! Excuse me. Your sunglasses are upside down. Mexico's all-time record versus Poland, currently on a six-game unbeaten streak against them dating back to 1978. All right. ARGKSA is the fifth trend, which will be our fourth. Imagine that. It's more World Cup news. Saudi Arabia's goalkeeper, Mohamed Alawais, was out of this world, honestly. The whole team performed really good, but he made incredible saves. Saudi Arabia's central defender, Hassan Al-Tambakti, is my man of the match. The Iron Man of Al-Shabaab has been peerless, and like a solid mop, he's wiped everything Argentina's thrown at him. At just 23 years old, he's thrown himself on the radar of many clubs worldwide. I think I've got one that is not trend because we'll be going to 6 because we skipped Tuesday Vibe. Argentina in this game versus Saudi Arabia. Offside everywhere. Alright, and the last one, the sixth trend, is JFK assassination. The Leo Terrell says, to classify every document arising from the JFK assassination, Americans have the right to know everything. Razor Fist. The initial report of the JFK assassination mentioned communism and Oswald's contacts in the KGB numerous times. LBJ then ordered all mentions of communism excised, allegedly out of fear of war with the USSR, which is one of the many reasons so many documents look like this. Blank, 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 and that's who killed John F. Kennedy. Apparently today is the anniversary. Yeah, JFK assassination, November 22nd. On 22nd November 1963, JFK, the 35th president, was assassinated in Dallas. We remember the life and legacy of President Kennedy on the anniversary of his death. Yeah, that Kennedy was kind of based, actually. He was fairly conservative for a liberal Democrat at the time. He was not without problems, don't get me wrong. But he was a big one for do it yourself. Don't let the government take care of you. I'm not going to say he was the best president we ever had, but he's not the worst. So yes, today is the anniversary of the Kennedy assassination. Oh, look, it's Tedrick, who I usually can't see because I'm blocked by him. Hey kids, I'm in my 60s. You've never lived in America where the rich paid their fair share. I have. Let me tell you what it was like. We built new schools, we built new highways, we cut the poverty rate. No, we didn't. We lead the world in technology. We went to the freaking moon. Ask Steven about that, about us going to the moon. So, that's the JFK assassination. I'm going to save this meme. I'm going to send it to my mom. My mom is very into the legacy of the Kennedys, so I'm going to save that meme. I'm going to send that to her. But with that, we're done. Whoops. Man, I need beard minions. Before the Wilsonites took over, is that what you're saying, Arvolt? Good old Woodrow? Alright, so with that, we're done. We're out of here. Thanks everybody who came by and chatted in the live chat. Busy live chat day today too, by the way. I'm sure that got us some promo going on over the Twitch side and maybe even up on the YouTube side. Let's see if we can't grow this more. As mentioned yesterday, this Friday will be the last Contemporary for a little while, so we'll see if we can't get everything done that's up on the stack, and we got very close today. We'll see if we don't get flooded with news as we come into the lame duck session here. And when we come back, we will be moving to a new time slot. That's right. I can't be at work and on camera at the exact same time. So that'll be coming up. That'll be new. That'll be fresh. And hopefully we can come and get some new audience and even maybe pull some people from the West Coast now, because I do understand that getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to come and watch a new show on the West Coast is a bit difficult. So hopefully that will open us up to a new audience, make it easier for people to come in and hang out and really see what's going on in the world. Maybe we'll see what's happening with that. Other than that, we'll be back here tomorrow to talk about news headlines and what happens in the next 24 hours. Looking forward to seeing you guys for that. Looking forward to seeing what's happening there and what keeps going on in this weird political saga that is our news cycle. But definitely, we'll see you here tomorrow for that. Looking forward to it. And until then, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.